Do you remember what it felt like to slide a nickel into a jukebox, hear the click and whirl, and then suddenly Elvis filled the room? Or the smell of fresh popcorn as you pulled into the drive-in with your best pals piled in the back of a Chevy Bel Air? Close your eyes, and maybe you can still hear the chatter of sock hops, the smooth croon of Buddy Holly, and the hum of a summer evening filled with teenage dreams. Today, we're going way back to 1958. Let's relive a day in the life of a teenager, from poodle skirts to pompadours, from alt shops to moonlit slow dances. Welcome back to Golden Hour Memories, where we celebrate the days that still shine in our hearts. I'm so glad you're here. Today's journey is a time capsule to one of the most colorful years of the 1950s, 1958. It was a time when teenagers were starting to carve out their own culture, music, fashion hangouts. It was a golden age for youthful freedom and fun. We'll start with a typical school morning, then hit the soda shop after class, catch some of the music that was rocking the charts, cruise to the drive-in for a movie night, and wrap up at the local dance hall. Whether you were a teen yourself or had older siblings living it up, I promise this will stir up memories you haven't visited in years. So grab a glass of iced tea or a root beer float, sit back, and let's step into the shoes, or maybe the saddle shoes, of a 1958 teen. Back then, mornings started with a twist of Brill cream or a dash of Aquanet, depending on whether you were styling a ducktail or pinning up your curls. The radio might have been playing At the Hop by Danny and the Juniors while you laced up your white bucks or stepped into your pleated skirt. Most kids walked to school or rode bikes. If you were lucky, you might have carpooled in a two-tone 57 Ford Fairlane, the kind with the tail fins that looked ready for takeoff. Do you remember the chatter in the hallway, the echo of lockers slamming shut? Or that teacher who always smelled of pot tobacco and chalk? Maybe you were in home economics, learning how to sew an apron, or in shop class, cutting wood for a birdhouse. High school in 1958 wasn't just about classes, it was where fashion statements were made. Boys wore cuffed jeans and button-downs, sometimes a leather jacket if they wanted to look a little like James Dean. Girls wore circle skirts with stiff crinolines underneath cinched waists and matching cardigans. And don't forget the ever-popular charm bracelet, a gift from a boyfriend, or a proud addition after a birthday or holiday. At lunchtime, the cafeteria might have served sloppy joes or meatloaf with mashed potatoes, all for under 40 cents. And if you managed to sneak a transistor radio under the table, you could catch a few beats of Chuck Berry before the lunch monitor caught wind. What was your favorite subject in school, or maybe the one you tried your best to avoid? Did you ever pass notes in class, folded like tiny footballs? By 3 o'clock, the bell rang, and the halls burst with energy. The day was far from over, because now it was time to head to the soda shop, or maybe grab a bite before getting ready for a night out. Once the final bell rang, many teens made a beeline for the local soda fountain. Remember the sound of the bell jingling as you pushed open the door, the scent of grilled burgers and vanilla malt thick in the air. You'd slide into a red vinyl booth, maybe with your best friend or your steady, and order a cheeseburger for 30 cents, a chocolate malt for a quarter, or a hot fudge sundae 2 scoops with whipped cream and a cherry on top. The jukebox was always humming. You didn't just listen to music, you felt it. With just a dime, you could cue up hits like Great Balls of Fire by Jerry Lee Lewis or the sweet harmonies of the Everly Brothers' All I Have to Do Is Dream. Each song seemed to tell a story you were living in real time. It wasn't just about the food or the music, though. It was about being seen. You dressed your best even just to hang out. Girls flipped their ponytails with flair, and boys leaned back like they had all the time in the world. The soda fountain was a stage, and every teen was playing their part in a brand new kind of youth culture. Did you have a go-to order at your local soda shop? Or maybe a favorite hangout spot where everyone just knew to show up? And if you worked a part-time job, maybe stocking shelves at the 5 and dime or pumping gas at the local tech circle, you might have had just enough money in your pocket to treat yourself and a friend to fries and a tune or two. The music. 1958 was a golden year for rock and roll and for teenage hearts learning to beat along with it. Elvis was still king. His hit Don't climbed the charts early that year, and teens everywhere swooned at the sound of his voice. Buddy Holly was charting hits like Maybe Baby and Rave On, and Chuck Berry had us all rocking and reeling with Johnny B. Good. Do you remember taping song lyrics off the radio? Or trying to copy the moves from American Bandstand? Dick Clark brought the newest tunes straight into our living rooms every afternoon, and if you were lucky, you danced along hair perfectly in place. At home, you might have had a record player with one of those tall, wobbly stacks of 45s, flipping down one by one as each song finished. If you had a transistor radio, you were really ahead of the curve. It meant you could take the music with you anywhere. And let's not forget the slow songs. Those dreamy ballads that made your heart flutter like twilight time by the Platters, or To Know Him Is to Love Him by the Teddy Bears. What song brings it all back for you? Was there a tune that made your heart skip a beat, or maybe your very first dance? Music was more than a soundtrack. It was a lifeline. It connected us, defined us, and helped us say the things we didn't yet have the words for. And as evening rolled in, there was only one place left to go, the drive-in. Now, if it was a Friday night in 1958, chances are you found yourself cruising over to the local drive-in. Maybe it was the Starlight or the Moonbeam. Every town had one, and it felt like the place to be once the sun dipped below the trees. You'd pile into the family car or a friend's, if they were lucky enough to have one, and line up at the gate. Admission, just $1 per carload in most places. You'd roll down the window, hook the speaker box onto the door, and settle in with a blanket, popcorn, and the company of good friends, or maybe a special someone. The night's double feature might include a sci-fi thriller like The Blob, which had just come out that year, or a teen drama like Rebel Without a Cause, still playing in reruns due to its lasting popularity. Horror flicks were a big draw too. Remember hiding behind your hands during I Was a Teenage Frankenstein? The hum of the speaker, the flicker of the reel, the laughter in the next car over, it was magic. And there was something about watching a movie under the stars that made every moment feel a little bigger, a little more alive. What was the last drive-in movie you remember seeing? Or maybe, who did you see it with? And of course, for some folks, the movie wasn't always the main event. Let's just say a lot of sweethearts had their first kiss at the drive-in, and a few missed entire films completely. If you weren't at the drive-in, there's a good chance you were dancing the night away at a school social or church-sponsored teen dance. These were the sock hop shoes left at the door so no one scuffed the gym floor. Just think of that polished hardwood echoing with the beat of Rockin' Robin. The dancers had their own energy-whirling skirts, quick-footed jitterbugs, and the occasional awkward slow dance with your crush. Boys lined up nervously, working up the courage to ask a girl to dance. Girls tried not to look too eager, but were secretly hoping they'd be asked. If a live band played, it was usually a local group of teens dreaming of the big time. But just as often, someone manned a record player at the front of the room, swapping out 45s and calling out dedications. And at the end of the night, you might walk someone home under the glow of street lights, heart still pounding from the last slow song. Maybe it's only Make-Believe by Conway Twitty or All I Have to Do Is Dream. There was a sweetness to those moments, wasn't there? A sense that anything was possible, and it all started with a simple dance. What a day, huh? School books in the morning, milkshakes in the afternoon, and dancing under the stars at night. A day in the life of a teenager in 1958 wasn't about smartphones or streaming. It was about real connections, real conversations, and a whole lot of rock and roll. Life has certainly changed since then, no doubt. But the memories, the friendships, the music, they're still with us. They live in our favorite songs, our family stories, and maybe even in a dusty old photo album tucked in the back of a drawer. What do you remember most from your teenage years? Was it a song, a car, a crush, or maybe a favorite hangout? We'd love to hear your stories. Drop a comment below and tell us your favorite memory from 1958 or your own teenage years. And if this trip down memory lane warmed your heart, give us a like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who'd enjoy the ride. Until next time, keep those memories alive and stay golden.